We've gotten to late stage book banning as a culture. We're moving beyond just individually banning books that we consider to be politically incorrect. Now, let's just get rid of the whole library, and that's what they're doing. In fact, the largest school district in Texas has announced its libraries will be eliminated and replaced with discipline centers in the new school year, which is good because if this whole anti-book crusade was seeming a bit fascistic, they decided to continue that with official government-sponsored discipline centers. Anyway, teachers at these schools will soon have the option to send misbehaving students to these discipline centers or team centers, designated areas where they will continue to learn remotely, and so that's fun. The guy who's heading up this program said that he's overwhelmingly proud that this many HISD school leaders are ready to take bold action to improve outcomes for all students and eradicate the persistent achievement and opportunity gaps in our district. Sorry, I think he meant eradicate books, eradicate reading, eradicate the ability to, in a self-directed and curious way, learn about the world and other experiences. Yeah, so I get that they're gonna spin it. And I understand that discipline is needed in schools or whatever, but like, do you get at the point where you're shutting down libraries that you just might be the baddie? Is that a bad sign, JR? I think it's a bad sign.
It's probably a bad sign considering it keeps expanding, just like they did when it came to the Roe versus Wade. Once it came down what they were going to beforehand, and they kept saying everyone's hyperventilating over what could possibly happen, that we would expand this nationwide, that we try and push this on every person in the country, that we would do such a thing. And then 5 seconds later, they do exactly what they said, that everyone's hyperventilating about what they'll do next. So when people hyperventilate about you banning certain books based off of 3 to 4 parents at school board meetings that did this because Tucker Carlson told them to do it, and then you expand it on to then beginning to close entire libraries because you need disciplinary centers instead and get rid of those librarians. It's kind of like you're doing exactly what it looks like you're doing as a fascist movement. But no, we only quote Hitler, which another one of these groups did, and said, oh, we're just quoting Hitler so we can warn you about what opponents may do. Why? Why would you do that? Anyway, it's all this projection for what is that they actually want to see throughout our country. So yeah, let's shut down libraries now. This isn't worrisome. This isn't indicative of exactly what it is that we're seeing in this drumbeat to then of limiting information. And it's the most dangerous thing ever. You're gonna get to how much dangerous they think this is, and I have some good comparisons for that.
Let me ask a question. I mean, this is, according to the people who are doing it, this is just an obvious good thing, not just because it stops the kids from becoming woke, but it's better for their education. You don't need the book. Come on, you're wasting your time with the books. You need discipline, not books, in these public schools. Let me ask you a question. Are they doing this in the private schools? Are they doing this in the religious schools? Because it's better for the kids. They'll be smarter and better performing students. Are they doing this in the schools where the rich people's kids go? Are they just replacing all of the extra stuff with disciplinary centers? I have a feeling they're probably not. I have a feeling those kids will be able to read books if that's what they want to do. No, this is very much about creating a 2-tiered education system. And by the way, the 2-tiered education system is not the end game of this. It is just a step in the middle. The end game is, school is not supposed to be about learning. It's certainly not supposed to be to prepare yourself for the next phase of your education. It's to get ready to work. It's to get you into the Tyson chicken processing plant. It's to get you out there working in the streets in Texas and dropping dead from the heat. That's what it's for. You're supposed to learn discipline and compliance, not curiosity, not developing and evolving as a person. That's for the kids of rich people. You're supposed to be thrown into the machine, and you will be very soon. Anyway, JR, what do you think?
Well, yeah, so these are all the next steps to where they want things to go, of course. So when certain folks in certain areas are targeted and they say, oh, it's not about race, it's not about this, it's not about that. But there's this constant like system, or at least this curious, regular approach to the same folks always being affected by these types of rules. Constantly, over and over and over again, these are the folks that are affected by it. And we're not supposed to see it as for what it is. Whenever folks who are controlling this much money and the way that things are allocated and what they're afraid of and what they're not afraid of make these rules and then just eliminate other certain folks, I see it locally with the school that my kid was gonna go to, because it's trying to get run out with certain folks that go there for others to be there. And there's no worry about where these other children go. It is 100% this two-tiered education system where there's good education and there's bad. And we keep complaining about the bad educational part about it and claim that's just those folks' fault. Now, when it comes to a lot of this disciplinary issues that they're having, if you want to look into and actually stop the disciplinary issues, sometimes it's kids are coming in hungry. Sometimes kids don't have access to school lunches. I remember they were fighting about this before and how dare they provide lunch, food to children. Crazy. Sometimes they don't sleep as much. Sometimes they have issues at home and their parents have to work 4 to 5 jobs because again, we don't do anything as far as giving folks livable wages. All these things trickle down to the next step and the next step and the next step. So of course, working class families would have maybe more issues with their working class children because they don't have the same access to the help, maybe childcare, all those types of things. Healthy food centers around their community that it's easier to raise children in where they won't have these types of issues. All these things are connected, but if you ignore it, you can just say it's those bad kids. And just slap them in a library and call it a disciplinary center and start spanking them. Remember the sheriff down in Florida, Brevard County, I believe, Sheriff Ivey? He's went out in front of a prison and said, we're gonna start whooping kids in school before they end up in prison back here, as if he doesn't want them in prison behind him.
I'm just gonna add on one more added layer of being awful in this. Actually, no, I wanna give credit to someone before the awful. The mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner, condemned this move, said, are there students who need additional support? Yes, and I am 100% supportive of that. But it's not an either or. You don't close the libraries, remove the librarians, and simply have the books on the shelf. What about all the other students? What are you saying to them? Saying nothing because they don't care. They don't care about these kids. They don't care about all the issues that JR highlighted. They don't care about, look, I can only speak for myself. It's the only life that I've lived, but I would not be the person I am today if I had not been given time to just wander around a library, either in school or the libraries I went to that were thankfully available. Like the public, they don't want the public libraries to exist either. Like it creates a curiosity, an interest in diverse topics. Like they don't want that. And they don't want people to help take you along on that journey. So really fast, thankfully, a federal judge this weekend temporarily blocked portions of an Arkansas law that would have literally made it a crime for librarians and bookstores to provide minors with materials deemed harmful to them. Harmful meaning politically incorrect. Because of course, to right wingers, it's not the right politics for them. If you acknowledge that gay people exist or whatever, it's harmful by definition. And they're the ones who get to decide if it lacks serious literary, scientific, medical, artistic, or political value. I love laws being passed that evaluate whether books have political value from the point of view of the right-wing whack job who's the governor at that point. Now, thankfully, it has been blocked, and that's thankful because if not, librarians could be thrown in jail for up to a year. Literally, the sweet old librarian rotting in prison for a year because they gave "and tango makes 3" to a 6th grader. Again, is it possible they're the baddies? Is it possible that it's not the left that's censorious? I don't recall us calling for librarians to be thrown in solitary confinement.
Bro,
anyway.
Same political party that says this about librarians could harm your children and they could be killed, criminally liable, but have nothing to say to gun makers that end up in the hands of folks and murder your children in school. That's not their problem.
No, having a bunch of just armed people running around your school, that just enhances discipline.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.